Welcome once again to Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time. Now, family, it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. It's really hot. Like it's so hot. And I'm coming from church. Church was beautiful as always. So I hope you guys went to church. And even if you didn't, I hope you're relaxing at home with loved ones, with family, and having an absolutely great time. Getting yourselves ready for the new week as it's coming by. I feel like it's been a minute since I last recorded. I try not to overwhelm my channel with too many videos, and I know, yes, to be relevant, you have to, be posting every now and then, but I want to post stuff that's really that's meaningful to me and I believe will be meaningful to others. And that's not to bash what other YouTubers are doing in terms of their content. Every YouTuber is unique with the content that they bring across their channels. So for me, I'm just going to take my time and make sure that I do my research as much as I can, and I bring you content that I feel you'll really benefit from. As I always say, my channel is purely about relationships, especially between partners, and I focus particularly on healing. So with time, I'm going to get into such videos by the grace of God, and I hope I'll be able to really delve into them and hopefully answer a lot of burning questions that I had, and I feel if I had them, many other people will have them. So it's a Sunday. Bear in mind that I think it's the Rugby World Cup. So if you guys hear any sporadic shouting in the background, please note that my neighbors are watching rugby. And it's South Africa versus Japan. And when I left church, funny enough, the pastor actually announced that South Africa was leading at the time 5-3. 5-3, 5-2, can't remember, but whatever, we were in the lead with 5 points. So if they call them points in rugby, I don't know. So yeah, if you hear anything, I do apologize. So let's get into it. I don't want to waste too much time because it might be a long video. So I've got my book handy, and I pray that as you hear my content, as I say, that it helps you and it guides you and it motivates you to make the right decisions for your life, for your relationship, and the people that are around you. Right, so today's topic is going to be relationships of convenience or relationships of obligation. And it's taken me a bit of a minute to write this because I don't believe anyone on this earth wants to find themselves in a relationship of convenience, truth be told. And at some point, all of us have experienced this. Almost all of us, let me rephrase, almost all of us have experienced this. Some of us may have created these kinds of relationships, or some of us have been victims of these kinds of relationships. Having experienced this myself, I will share what I know and what I've learned. And it is to further explain, it's very painful, to know that somebody that you loved, has kind of gotten into a relationship purely because they were going to benefit or they're going to gain something from it. And you only realize this at the end of the relationship, or you realize it after a significant amount of time has passed between you and this person, that this really wasn't a relationship of love, but rather a relationship of either convenience for the person or a relationship of obligation for that person. And it's normally when things start getting ugly and you sit down and a lot of people don't like pain in relationships. I actually think pain is a good thing because pain makes you sit back and reflect on a lot of things. You reflect on conversations had, you reflect on behaviors displayed by your partner and yourself. You reflect on the circumstances that led to that argument or that disagreement or that dispute or that uncomfortable situation between you and your partner. Right. So there are a number of reasons why these kinds of relationships are formed, and I will list a few. There are many, I'm sure, but the few that I have listed are things that I have personally experienced, and I think some are things that I may have heard. So please feel free. Family, as I always say, please feel free to leave a comment. Don't be, fearful to kind of interact with me, and I will leave my email address. So if you want to send me emails in person, please, I'll leave my email address. Please go ahead and do that. I really want to reach out to people because I know there is many of us that are going through this. I cannot be the only one, and I definitely am not the first, and I'm definitely not going to be the last. But if I can help prevent these kinds of relationships from taking place by educating people, then I am all for it. Right, so some of you may be wondering, before we get into the list of the types of relationships of convenience and or obligation, Some of you may be wondering what the difference is between a relationship of convenience and a relationship of obligation. I will break it down for you. Now, this is my definition based on my experience. So people may interpret certain words based on their own experience, but this is what I experienced, and I will give you according to the definition based on the topic that I have brought for you guys today. So, a relationship of convenience is when someone gets into a relationship because they stand to benefit something from the other person. Most times it's materialistic things that one can gain from the other. In most times the person either contributes little to nothing into that particular relationship. So when you're in a relationship of convenience, that person is coming into the relationship to come and benefit something from you, and something materialistic. You will never know. That's why I said in the beginning or much earlier, and I said to you, it's only when things start getting ugly, and it's only when you see certain alarm bells triggering and you think, okay, now I don't think this is a relationship for me because of 1, 2, and 3. And a relationship of obligation is when one person enters a relationship mostly out of indebtedness or guilt because their partner has done so much for them or to help them that they feel that they owe them their commitment. In the relationship of convenience, there is hardly any love because it is a very selfish type of relationship or a very selfish type of love. Now, out of obligation, and women can, maybe men can also relate to this as well, where you go out of your way to do something for your partner and you are very happy doing this. And you don't know that this person may not really have the same feelings for you and they want to come out of that, relationship with you. But because of what you've done for them, they feel guilty and they feel obliged to you or to that relationship, so they won't leave. That's being obligated to a person. And in the relationship of obligation, it generally starts off very genuine. Truth be told, people can start with convenience. It's very selfish. The person has an ulterior motive. But when it comes to obligation, the two of you are coming together. You don't really know much about each other and you're getting into a genuine relationship. Somewhere along the line, one may change their feelings, one may change their aspirations and stuff like that. As a result, they now feel that because of everything that was done for them in the relationship, they are now forced or obliged to be in that relationship because of what their partner has done for them. Right. And it gradually, those feelings will gradually wear off because this person is no longer staying there because they want to, they're staying there because they have to. That's the difference of obligation. With the relationship of convenience, the person is staying there because they need to, not because they want to. If that makes sense. Right. So in a relationship of obligation, the partner may care for the other because of what they did, but they are no longer in love. And in both instances, it is very sad, which is both instances of relationships of convenience and relationships of obligation. Both instances are sad. And as you listen to me, I hope you don't discover that this is the kind of relationship that you're in. Bear in mind that in both instances, one cannot admit to their significant other why they are in that particular relationship. It's very difficult. Can you imagine somebody telling you, I'm in a relationship because you give me your car and I don't have a car? Or I'm in a relationship with you because of everything that you've done for me. I mean, you really don't want somebody admitting or confessing to such, because it's so painful and you feel like you've got a noose, especially with the relationship of obligation. You feel like you actually have a noose around that person's neck because of everything you've done for them. And now it's like you're forcing them to be in a relationship with you because of everything you've done for them. That's why I say it's painful. And you don't want somebody to be telling you, obviously, like I said in the beginning, that you don't want somebody to tell you I'm in a relationship with you because you've got 1, 2, and 3, and that's why I'm there with you, because now that person's blatantly telling you that, excuse me, I'm using you in essence. So it's a piece of hair doing, oh God, what was that? Oh, but anyway, let's get into the first scenario or the first example. So I'm going to start with examples of relationships of convenience, and then I'll get into examples of relationships of obligation. Right, so stay with me. Point number 1 under relationships of convenience. When one sees you as a link to get them to the next level in life. So, for example, you're a well-connected individual, and you're the go-to person to either help people get jobs, help people get business contracts, help people get good deals in whatever, and that the person may be good at doing. So, when a person comes into your life, so I'm gonna. Okay, should I be gender specific? People get easily offended, and why I get gender specific is because of my experience. So I'm really trying to see whether or not I should go gender specific. And if I do go gender at some point, out of giving examples, it's not because I'm bashing the other sex. It's because I'm just bringing an awareness of what certain individuals can do. Bear that in mind. Right. So when a guy comes into your life, they will shower you with love, ne? And an overdose of love. An overdose of love. And they'll throw it, and then eventually they throw their request in. So first of all, they'll come in, you are this, you are that, you're my everything, you're what, two, three, and then before you know it, they throw in their request. Hey, babe, Francis, this is what I need you to do for me. This is what I want. But this is after some time. These people are very clever. These kinds of individuals who get into these kinds of relationships are very, very clever human beings. So it won't be a problem, obviously, for the partner who has got all these connections to do what their other person is, or their significant other is asking them to do, because in their minds, this is a person that I love. So if they're coming to me, that's because they feel that I can help them. So I'd be very happy to help this kind of person, or to help my partner do whatever it is that they've asked. So that's example number one. A relationship of convenience is when somebody comes into your life because you are well connected, and they can see that they can benefit from you through your connections. That's a relationship of convenience, number one. And the second example is when someone has no accommodation. Now, I relate to this. Probably to all the points that I'll give you. I relate to them. And I like this because nobody can really bash me for my experiences, because they were my experiences. It's not like I'm thumb sucking. It's not like I'm creating things. I know what I'm talking about because I've been there. So when somebody has no accommodation, when I met my partner, he had nowhere to stay. Let me tell you, ne? So I met him when I was still in college. So, I used to go and visit him, and he used to stay in this house that had many other, guys staying in that house. And it used to make me uncomfortable to go and see my boyfriend when he's with, his friends or his flatmates or whatever, housemates. And then I was in college, and then obviously with time, I think he picked up on that, and then he moved out, and he went to go and get himself his own room, because the house that he was staying in, the bedroom that he used, he wasn't the only person sleeping in that bedroom. So when I would visit, he would have to tell his friends, don't come around because I'm with my chick type thing. So when he could see that I was getting uncomfortable, then he moved out of that house, and then he moved to another house where he had his exclusive bedroom where it was just him. Right. So when a person comes into your life and they have no accommodation, this is when a person has no place to stay and they need to move out as soon as possible. So the usual victims that suffer this are usually women. Now, men can say, no, it's actually women. It's actually us guys that have these chicks that just move in with us. Fine, fair enough. You guys can say that. That's your opinion. This is my opinion. So the usual victims of people or guys who've got no accommodation are women. And most of these women generally are very secure women, and they have roofs over their heads, their own roofs. And men have a tendency to move around a lot in terms of accommodation, and they're not like consistent in terms of where they stay. So either the guy has lost his job and he can't pay for his rent, or he broke up with his girlfriend and the girlfriend either kicked him out or he decided to move out because of the tension in the house. So sometimes, okay, I gave this example of me. Now, the honest truth is you don't know what you've set yourself up for. Say, for instance, this guy is fighting with his girlfriend. You meet this person, you guys get to dating, certain scenarios are painted to you. And obviously, because you're a chick, you don't have anybody in your life, you may fall for his stories, and, whatever it is that he may come up with and tell you is the problem for him not having accommodation. You'll find yourself as a chick coming up with a solution of either I can get you a flat to stay in, or you can move in with me. I've done both. Mom, if you hear this, I'm very sorry. I'm really sorry, but I have to tell the truth for people to be set free. I have to tell the truth for women to learn not to do this. Now, when this guy didn't have a place to stay, I used my resources to get this guy accommodation, and I used my documents, to register and to get him this apartment. Fine, he would pay. Sometimes he wouldn't pay. And why I was able to assist with paying is because I was staying with my mom at the time. Yeah. Ladies, there's a lot of things that we do to ourselves, all in the name of a stupid relationship. That time you don't see it, but you tell yourself you're helping somebody that you love. And it's also convenient for you because you don't get to go and see him when he's with his boys. You get to see him when he's alone. I just had a flashback. The sad thing, let me just talk about the flashback quickly. The sad thing is when you think you're helping somebody, they take advantage of your help. So unbeknownst to me, as much as I did this tremendous favor for this person that I loved, he had females coming over to that house. That's not even something I want to entertain. But that, ladies, that's what you're potentially setting yourself up for when you make this kind of choice to help somebody. You really must be prepared to receive anything and everything that comes your way, especially if the guy is not legit and you won't know. That's why I said in the beginning, relationships of convenience, when the person's coming into your space, you'll never know what the person's agenda is until it's too late or when things are getting really ugly. So a guy will come into your life, do and say all the right things for the duration that he's with you. Many women have gotten into fixes and guys are very clever. They're predatory. That's the way they prey. So what they will do is they will really hunt. They will hunt for the ladies that seem to not have anybody, that seem to kind of have strained relationships with their family. That's why they're staying on their own type of situation. So be very aware. And I think I mentioned in a previous video, ladies, we should be the ones digging and investigating. We are not interviewees where somebody will sit there and have this checklist and say, check, this is what she has. Check, this is what she has. No, bruh, check what you have and check what you don't have. Then I will know whether I should be in a relationship with you. So number 2, when a person has no accommodation, they will come into your life, do whatever they need to do, and then they will plant the seed. A narcissistic tendency that I've noticed, or a very manipulative tendency of people who know their game, is that they will navigate a conversation to a way that will make you make a suggestion. Meanwhile, they have planted that in your head. So it'll make it look like you came up with the idea, but no, they navigated that conversation so that you say what you have to, so that you say what you end up saying. It's a plot. And it took me a long time to really, and it's so difficult and it's so painful because you really have to psychoanalyze everything that comes out of your mouth when you're dealing with a narcissistic person. Hey, there are people who are clever, ne? And like I said, you won't pick it up until it's too late. You'll think you're the clever one coming up with the decision, but he can't outrightly say it. So what he will do is he will manipulate the conversation to go a certain way. So that in the end, you're like, oh, you know what? Why don't you come and stay? You know what I mean? Like painting woes, endless woes. I don't have a car. I don't have, a place to stay. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have that. So it's like, I wonder what she's going to say. They give you that side. It's like a miserable look. And then it's like, are you gonna fall for what I'm saying? What is your reaction? Example number 3 of a relationship of convenience is when one has no legal documents to reside in a country. So typically speaking, this is what you call marriage arrangement or papers for citizenship, which is what was generally trending for a very long time here in South Africa, where a lot of guys would come into the country and they didn't have papers and they would, prey on, unsuspecting girls or women, and they would, coerce them into into marrying, either with the family's knowledge or without the girl's family's knowledge, and they'd marry, and then the guy would end up having papers or legal citizenship or permanent residency to stay in the country. So what generally happens is that foreigners will prey on the locals. And this is not specifically to South Africa, it's anywhere, any foreigner. And I'm not being race specific. This can happen to anything. It's to any race. It's happened to Asians. It's happened to UK citizens who fall and prey for people coming into the country and marrying these poor women, and then, them end up giving, the citizenship to other people. Brazilians have gone places that have also, where they don't have papers, and they end up taking advantage of the locals there, etc., etc. I mean, there's a TV program on it now. Is it 90 days before the wedding? 90 days or something like that. And the family members get into such a rut because they're so angry that their child cannot see that they are being blindsided, that this person is just coming into their relationship, into their child's lives just for them to get citizenship. So most of these people, when they come in, these foreigners, they'll do whatever is necessary. From sex to acting like a houseboy. Oh gosh, to monetary favors, whatever it takes, just for them to get those legal documents. And most times such relationships are created out of urgency and desperation. So when the person comes in, they will press you, man. They will press you. You need to do this. I'm running out of time. The government has changed the constitution again, or they've changed the foreign laws again. This is what needs to happen. You need to do this. I don't know what to do. Where should I go for help? I need money to do this. I need money to go there. And then all of a sudden it becomes your problem. I mean, you were doing pretty fine on your own as a woman. You didn't have anybody stressing you with their problems like that. And then this person comes in and they put coals under your feet, and you're like, if I don't do this, it's the end of the world. This is Armageddon. The person has literally brought you on a plate, and you have the choice to walk away. But because you're single and you're desperate probably, and you need somebody in your life and you're lonely, these guys, like I said, are predators. They know what they're doing. So they will come in and they will tell you everything you need to hear for them to get what they want to get. I just had a flashback of something else. So most times the victim never really knows that they form an integral part in the grand scheme of things. And like I said, you will only know when it's too late. Too late. Number 4, relationship type of type of relationship built of the 4th point on relationships of convenience is when you have a solid or a strong financial backing as a person. So with this one, a significant amount of time will have to be spent with you. But if the guy or the woman is sharp, they don't really have to spend time with you. They just have to ask strategic questions to get what they need to get, and then they can make their move. Right. So alternatively, this is when the individual eventually moves in for the kill. So as I said, they ask the strategic questions, then they make their move, right? So there isn't much time to play with this particular instance because they will point out urgent or important stories and that require money, and they have to be very quick. Why I say is they have to be very quick is because they don't want you to get to a point where you will suspect their plot. So they will ask you strategic questions. Next thing, they will paint a very sordid story. Half the time, it's just, they're always desperate and it's always urgent. That sense of urgency makes your brain rush with such adrenaline, and you will make a very careless decision which is not thought out properly, and you will make the gravest mistake of your life because of somebody who's painted an urgent situation that is on their lives, not on your life. That's what you must always remember when somebody comes into your life, ladies, or even men, if you feel you'll benefit from this, and they're always having problems that are urgent. That's a warning sign. It's a warning bell. You must be cognizant of this because that is their problem. And the moment you say, yes, you have agreed to inherit their problem, and it becomes your problem, not our problem. I don't know if I'm making sense. Why I'm saying it's your problem is because you're the one who is going to provide the solution. So it becomes your problem. It's their problem. The fact that they have told you, it's a transference to you as a partner, and you will find yourself being the problem solver. And you really have no reason to commit to such. Ladies, you don't. You really don't. The other twist in this story is that, or this example is that the individual can display all their vulnerabilities, leaving you with the pressure of making the decision of being the rescuer in their time of need. I'll repeat that. The other twist is that the individual or the predator can display all their vulnerabilities, leaving you with the pressure of making the decision of being the rescuer in their times of need. This display of hopelessness can be used with the other examples I gave before. Unfortunately, this kind of relationship can either last long, where the predator sees you as a cash cow, or it ends very quickly when the predator or when the prey's reserves or resources have been completely diminished. I've been through this. You see this one? Babe, I want to start a business. Babe, my mother's in hospital. Babe, I want to, my sibling needs to go to school. There's always an urgent story. Babe, I'm going to get kicked out. I need money for rent. It's always an urgent story. And you, as the person who's got the potential, who's got the financial backing, you'll be like, okay, so have you tried this? Have you tried this? Because you think you're trying to exhaust other options before you are the one who ends up funding or pumping up money for this person's problems. By the way, it's not this person, they're supposedly your partner. Ne? They're supposedly your partner. So you will ask, once you've exhausted all the options, there's no choice. And they will make sure that everything that you say, have you tried this? Yes, I have. It didn't work. Have you tried this? Yes. Everything that you suggest, they've tried, they've exhausted, and it hasn't worked. You are their hope. In short, you are Jesus Christ. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I was in this situation, and not once and not twice, a couple of times. And it takes you, I promise you, these people they are so smooth, ne? They are so good at their game, you won't even see it coming. They will display such acts of self-hatred, self-despise, where they'll be like, I can't believe I have to be asking a chick to help me. Like, I'm a man. I'm the one who's supposed to be. They have these kinds of stupid personal conversations that they're supposed to be having with themselves. They have them in front of you so that it's within earshot, so that you can feel guilty. Like, no, babe, maybe God brought you to me because I'm able to help you. Look, nah, I'm not against people helping people outside in the world. A lot of people need help. But when it comes like this, I'm sorry, I completely disagree with it. In short, there's no percentage created on this planet that makes me disagree enough with what these people, with the tactic that these predators use. Ladies, don't ever allow somebody's sense of urgency to hamper your decision making. Allow yourself to take all the time in the world, because I promise you, you will inherit that problem. Very few men, and now I'm being gender specific, very few men will say, you know what, I'll pay you, and literally pay you back. A lot of us women around the world have debts, in short, in the hundreds of thousands, maybe it's millions for some. And we're still waiting. We've even moved on to other relationships. These people are still, it's got interest. And you will never see a dime. You will never see a cent. There are some men of integrity who genuinely don't believe in borrowing from a woman, and when they see you and they just want to get rid of the debt, because every time they see it's like, damn it, I owe this woman, I need to pay this woman, and the moment they get money they pay you back. Some are so slick, ne? Some are so slick. Some will pay you help maybe with 10,000, they pay you 2,000, and then there's a story for the 8. And the 8 is covered by sex, useless gifts, nonsensical outings that will never equate the amount of money outstanding. I laugh, but ladies, you must be very aware of these things. You really must. Like I said in my previous video, why are you so afraid of being alone? Do you know when you're alone, and I repetitively said it in the previous video, and I said, when you're alone, it's such a gift. You have got so much time and finances or resources to invest in yourself. Now, when the enemy sees this, they don't like it. So they will send somebody to come your way to just hinder your progress, hinder your plans, hinder your intentions for yourself. Some of you even have money saved up, and it may be for a relative's education. And then a man comes, gives you good sex, then paints a very bad story, and then you dash out that family member's money like that. That's number 4. when you have a strong financial backing. And like I say, as women, we can be very vulnerable in our state of singleness. Very vulnerable. And when we don't have God in our core, at our core, there's nothing the devil will not do to play with us. And that is for sure. Sometimes with God at our core, we may feel like it's God sending this man to come to you and you are supposed to help him. If God has not shown it to you, if God has not confirmed it to you, don't engage, don't commit. Even Christians make the most drastic of decisions because we just assume God sent this man my way because I'm single, I've been waiting for so long. You inherit a problem because you feel, or somehow in your mind, you're convinced that God sent this man to you. Prayer and discernment, not forgetting wisdom, ladies, is very necessary as a single woman to ensure that you are not taken advantage of while you're still waiting for your God-sent husband. So generally, predators will go for women who are single, who live alone, and generally live a somewhat isolated life. If you aren't wise, you will assume, as I said earlier on, that God has sent you a partner, but all you will have instead is a leech. I speak like this because I speak from experience, and God is faithful. Ladies, ne? God is faithful. God is faithful. God is faithful. I can't even say that enough. God is faithful. And when we put our trust in Him, He surpasses even our wildest imaginations. And that's only when we put our trust in Him. He will surpass the delivery. You guys have got no idea. There are a few ladies who are listening to me who have probably come out of this and they can testify to it. Some are still trying to come out of it and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to trust God. Not every man who comes your way after your moment of singleness is a godsend. Until God confirms it to you, I promise you, do not commit to any man in your life, whether it's sexually, financially, emotionally, whatever. The last point, which is point number 5 on the different types of relationships of convenience, is sometimes the things you own will attract a predator, meaning your possessions. They can be a magnet for predators. So a guy may not even own a bicycle, honey. Won't even own a bicycle. But when he realizes that you have a car, he will come flying towards you because now you are the Minister of Transport. I recall when I had my car and my ex was using it to move around on his philandering missions. I took that privilege, because it's a privilege to these people. That's one thing that they don't acknowledge, or they're arrogant enough. At the beginning, it's like, hey, babe, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't do 1, 2, 3. And then in the end, it's like, hey, if you don't want with your car, you know what, you can take it, I don't care. It transitions to that, and I've been through that. So when you see them change is when you take away their so-called privilege. When you take it away, you'll see the person morph literally into something else. So I remember when I was telling him to use public transport one day when we were having an argument and he wanted to use the car, and I was like, no, it's enough, because even if I give you the car, it's not like you put fuel, I still end up putting the fuel. So enough, you must go use public transport. And his answer, this is at some stage, it's like, for what? Why will I use public transport? No, on what level will I use public transport when there's a car? When you are done with your car, you let me know and I'll change my assignments or I'll change my missions and I'll use the car when you're done. Really, why will you tell me to use public, unless you don't want me to use your things? That's how it changes. Then at some point, the conversation turned into a guilt trip. Ladies, you must be very careful. And I'm giving you my examples because sometimes you ladies may hear this type of thing as well. And I want you to be, your ears must be sharper than an elf's or dwarf's. You must really, or a pixie, actually, not even dwarf. Sharper than an elf's or a pixie's ears. Your ears, ladies, must be up like antennas when you hear these men talk like this. The other time it will change into, when you tell them, no, you must use public transport. He'll be like, yeah, after all, I came into this country without anything, so why will I complain? It's your property. So why would I be complaining on something that doesn't belong to me? So when the person speaks so, so painfully, it's a guilt trip to say, no, I didn't mean it like that. Okay, fine, you can take it. No, 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 it's fine. You can take it. I understand. Don't worry. God will eventually bless me with my own. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. Screw you on so many levels for manipulating my mind, for manipulating my heart, for manipulating my emotions. How dare you, as an individual, male or female, think you can come into somebody's life and just be a leech and then make somebody feel guilty for the stuff that God has blessed them with? You have no right. You have the same hands, legs, feet for you to ask God for wisdom, for you to acquire the things that you do. Right. I'm not saying go out there and be like, rah, Wolverine, you will not use my things. Okay, I just felt like my brother there. That was funny. Okay, no. It's good to laugh. Okay, that's all right. I'm not saying you must turn into somebody like that and, be on beast mode like, you can't use my stuff. Rah! No. That's why I said earlier, prayer, discernment, and wisdom. Those three are key for you making the right decision in your life. Right. Now, other examples of the possessions that you have are maybe the house that you live in, the area that you live in, may also be a magnet. Some people are just addicted to luxury. Some people are addicted to status. So they will not want to be affiliated or caught dead staying in a certain place. And half the time when you do research and you find out where your partner used to stay, you're like, is this person for real? You are actually choosing to stay. Hey, let me not even say it, but you ladies know exactly what I'm saying. So the things that you own, your possessions, become magnets for you predators. So a relationship of convenience is when somebody sees you for the things that you own and wants to come into your life so that they can use those things as well and enjoy your hard work and all your luxuries, so to speak. So that wraps up my pointers on relationships of convenience. And I'm going on to relationships of obligation and how they can be created. So moving along, I'm doing very well with my time. Pointer number one on a relationship of, okay, before I continue, if you ladies have other examples, please feel free to share them in the comment section below. I would love to hear the different examples of how you've discovered that you were in a relationship of convenience. So just a quick rundown of the different types of relationships of convenience. When number one is when someone sees you as a link to get them to the next level in life. So you're well connected, you're well resourced and stuff like that. Somebody will come into your life. Number two is when somebody has no accommodation and it's an urgent type of, pointer, because it's always presented to you as a matter of urgency. And, you have a place and I need a place. So, I need a place to stay. So you'll end up, getting into a relationship with a person, but you don't know that they just got into a relationship with you because they needed a roof over their heads. Number three, when one has no legal documents. A lot of women have suffered from this, even men as well, around the world. When somebody gets into a relationship with you because they are just a foreigner in that country and they need papers to stay in that country and they see you as a potential target, they will get into a relationship with you because they can see you as a person that may help them get their citizenship or permanent residency in that country. Point number four is when you have a solid or a strong financial background. So the person will have to do some digging on you, try to find out exactly what you're worth and then see if it's worth it to get in a relationship with you because they see you as a cash cow. That's relationship of convenience, number four. And finally, relationship number five of convenience is the materialistic possessions that you own. So when the person sees a car you drive, the house you live in, the area you live in, they will be automatically addicted to that and they want to get into a relationship with you because they can benefit all those things. Right. So finally, our last point is relationship of obligation. And I think I only had 3 points for a relationship of obligation. So I'm going to go through these really quick. So, like I said, a relationship of obligation is when you do so much for a person that the person feels indebted, they feel obliged, they feel like they owe it to you to be in a relationship with you, even though the love has long gone, long gone. So, relationship of obligation, example number one: when you have gone over and beyond for your partner, you will feel like you owe it to them to be, or they will feel like they owe it to you to be in a relationship with them. So, never confuse love with obligation. And a lot of us as women, confuse love with obligation, and they are very different and they can be intertwined. Sometimes you feel like you're in love with the person, but all you are feeling is a deep sense of gratitude for what the person has done for you. And this goes both ways with both genders, né? So a lot of men have educated women, and these, taking them to school, that is, or university or whatever, taking them to the highest form of education. And some men have put women in proper jobs, well-paying jobs. And now that these women are doing well, or now that this woman has done exceedingly well academically, she has met somebody that she actually loves in university, or maybe in the job that she's gotten. Now, for her to dump this guy who sent her to school becomes very difficult. So she will probably have an affair with both, and then she'll stay married, or she'll marry the guy who sent her to school, because family also interferes with this particular one. Because your family will be like, but you can't do that to him. This guy has sent you to school. This guy has done everything for you. This guy's giving you a good job. How can you do this to him? You're such a mean person. It's an incredibly difficult situation to be in. And it's a very difficult conversation, like I said earlier, to have with somebody and it's difficult to break away from this person, because you feel a tremendous amount of guilt walking away from them or breaking their hearts because they saw a spouse in you. You probably did at the time because you were overwhelmed with this person's generosity. And now that you see somebody else, you're like, I don't really love the person who helped me. I actually love this other person. I've found myself, and I've found somebody I feel is good for me. Right. So I'll give you an example. I recall watching a video, né? I'll tell you this interesting story. Now, in this video, it was guys who had gone to a barbershop, obviously, and they were getting their hair cut and stuff like that. So one of the guys asked, hey guys, no, one of the guys posed a question to say, guys, are you really in love with the women that are in your lives? Like, some of you guys married, are you in love with your wives and stuff like that? Are you in love with your girlfriends and stuff like that? Then the one barber replied and he said, man, it's such a good question that you asked, because the honest truth is I'm not in love with my wife. But I do love her. She's the mother of our children, but I'm not in love with her. So the guy whose hair he was cutting now asked, why are you with her then, if you're not in love with her and you just love her? And his response was classic, and it was very sad. It was a very sad response, but it was an honest. And he said, I'm with her because she was there when everyone else wasn't. Do you understand, ladies, when I'm telling you, and gentlemen, do you understand when I'm saying to you that, you can really get love and obligation intertwined? You can really confuse those two, and they can put you in a very bad space, because if you don't sort it out quickly, that love will turn into obligation, will turn into resentment. And the person who did everything for you will not understand as you transform. They will not understand you. So it's a very difficult conversation to have with somebody. Sometimes it comes across cold to say, everything that you've done for me, I'll pay you back. It's honestly the most appropriate thing that one can say, because it's like, I don't want you to feel like you've lost or you wasted your time, even though you have, but I don't want you to also feel like you wasted your resources on me. The best thing I can do is to pay you back for the amount you've invested in me. It's so painful, but I would rather have that kind of conversation, guys, than be stuck with somebody who potentially have affairs with me, cheat on me, and me to find out at a later stage in life, when we've got children and we've acquired so much together, that this person never really loved me because I was there for them when they weren't. So ladies, be very careful when you also invest in your dude, né? and he ends up not marrying you, be careful not to have your heart broken so hard. And I really attest to this, a relationship of obligation, particularly on one point, which I'll give you much later on, which I talked about in my life story. So if you haven't watched my life story, please make sure that you browse through my videos and listen to my life story part 1 and part 2. So all of the content that I've come up with has been derived from my life story. So moving on to this pointer, be very careful, women, when you go investing in guys, because you will want, like as I said in a previous video, some degree of reciprocity. And in our minds as human beings, male and female, we feel we are owed a relationship because of what we invested in it. So the person must commit to me. And that's not really fair. If God has put you in someone's life to be their helper, be their helper. That's why in one of the videos I also said, be very careful not sleeping with people that God has sent you to either be a blessing to or them to be a blessing to you. It's a very tight situation that you don't want to find yourself in. Relationship of obligation, point number 2. When you share children or valuable assets with somebody, the fear of losing any or everything in the event of a breakup, divorce, or a separation keeps you in that relationship. So not wanting children to go through the pain of the family breaking up will keep you stuck or committed to a loveless relationship. And I know this one very well because that is the conclusion that I came to. I grew up in a broken home. So as a result, when there was a chance for, when it came to, a separation in our relationship, stroke a divorce, I really didn't want to go through it because I didn't want my son to grow up in a broken home, because I felt like I would have failed, because that's what I went through, and I wouldn't be a good example for my son. And I was willing to sacrifice my happiness for my son's perfect world. Now, to expand on this point much earlier on, when I said the fear of losing any and everything, do you know, even people, especially guys, get very afraid to actually marry women because they fear losing the stuff that they have. Now, I'll give you this scenario, ladies. I remember I was in an Uber and this guy was driving me home, and for some odd reason, I think I was just talking about my channel to him, and I said, you must listen to my channel. I believe that you will be blessed through it, and it may help you, really get a lot of insight from it. He's a guy who was he's been dating his woman for a very long time. I think they've got 2 kids, and now the next step is marriage, but he's scared. And now he confesses this to me. Sometimes you really derive a lot of pleasure from just, or satisfaction from just, confessing your secrets to complete strangers. So this guy says to me, my sister, it took me a while for me to date any woman because I was concentrating on working very hard the majority of my youth, and I wanted to acquire as many things as I could, which is a house and cars, and get policies done and money saved in the bank, so that when I marry, I can bring my woman into the house, and we can build a home from there, because I've provided for my family, which is a very noble thing to do, which is a good thing to do. Then he says, but my sister, I'm very afraid to marry, because what happens, because the way people are breaking up and divorcing these days, what happens if I marry this woman and then 2-3 years down the line we divorce, or we separate? We divorce, actually. So that means he walks away with half of my assets and half of my property, which I spent the majority of my life working to achieve. I now said to him, if you're going to have that kind of thought in your mind, then that means marriage is not for you. Because you were working all this time at some point to have somebody with you in your life. And if that is how petrified you are, then I suggest you marry out of community of property. That way, your property remains yours. But I don't know how you're going to have that kind of conversation, because having that kind of conversation is difficult in itself, because it's like you're insinuating you don't want anybody coming to take any of your stuff, as if women are gold diggers. That's what you'll be portraying by that kind of conversation, or you'll be implying rather by having that kind of conversation. So this guy is like, hey, my sister, I don't know. I said, you know what? You need God to give you advice. And the best way he can best thing he would tell you is whether or not that woman you're with is actually your wife. Because even if she's the mother of your children, does not mean she's your wife. There's a very big difference. A lot of us have gone and had children with people we shouldn't have been having children with in the first place. And we thought they were our spouses, and they really weren't. They were just lessons in our lives. And that goes both ways. So, fear of losing your property, if you're a married person, fear of losing your property will make you stay in a relationship you shouldn't. Fear of breaking up a home is going to make you commit to a relationship that you shouldn't. So that's a relationship of obligation. I was obligated to give my son a perfect home with both parents involved, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. And like I said, it had to cost something grave to happen for my eyes to open and wake up. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I don't want anybody, male or female, to feel obliged to be in a relationship. You are supposed to be free. Some of you may say, yeah, but too much has gone, and it's late, but it's never too late. I've seen assets, or possessions rather, turn people into monsters. Literally, they morph into Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde because people are so obsessed with the properties that they have acquired over their lifetime that anybody who comes in is either a vulture, a leech, a bloodsucker, or a vampire. And people change into such horrible characters when they're fighting their significant others over property. It's very sad. You don't want to find yourself in a relationship just because of assets and just because you're obliged to be with somebody. Some men will go into relationships or marry women who are the mothers of their children because they are the mothers of their children, not because they love them. You will cheat. It'll be if you don't, you are a very strong person, but you are just setting yourself up to cheat. And I'm not even going to lie, I won't mince words, I'm not going to put water in my mouth. You are setting yourself up to cheat when you marry somebody because they're the father or the mother of your child. Relationship of obligation, example number 2. The last one, number 3 is, before I go on to that, when you're constantly doing something for somebody or things for somebody, and you're not getting anything back, it will haunt you the giver, to a certain extent. Perpetual sacrifice can result in resentment. Perpetual sacrifice can result in resentment. And the last, number 3, goes in hand with number 1. When you save somebody from an impending doom, this can potentially make you indebted to the person. So you can rescue a person from being homeless. You can rescue a person from a financial debt. You can rescue a person from maybe somebody who's been threatening their life because of the connection that you have. You can save the person. There's many other scenarios. But when you save somebody from an impending doom, the person that you have saved, especially when it's people of the opposite sex, the person that you have saved will feel a certain indebtedness to you. That's why I said earlier on, love and obligation can be intertwined, and they're two completely different things that should never be put together in the same sentence. Obligation is not love, and love is not obligation. Oh, that was good. Yeah, thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. So be careful, family, as you're listening to me, be very careful where you place your heart, who you give your heart to, where you invest yourself, where you plant yourself. You need to be very cognizant. You can't say that, no, I'm a child and stuff like that. Yes, sometimes they're ignorant. You can be ignorant to certain situations, but you can't always be ignorant. It'll be evident that something clearly is wrong with you, or your priorities are questionable in a number of ways. So you need to be very careful, family. You need to be very careful when you find yourself in a relationship of obligation. And I pray that God gives you wisdom to have a conversation with your significant other in a way that won't lead to hatred from the person receiving the news. I would rather you actually break up with the person and say, you know what, this is not working, rather than for you to stay in that relationship and this person is excited thinking, yes, you love them, and and there are some people, let me twist this a bit. There are some people who are so manipulative especially in terms of them being the ones giving. Like they'll give and give and give and give and give, and then when they see you acting funny, they're like, yeah, I can't believe you're acting funny after everything I've done for you. If God has blessed you to be a blessing to somebody, you have no right to be arrogant to throw it in their faces. You have no right, because as God took from Job, he can take from you. You are nobody that he cannot use as an example. So when you go throwing your assistance as if it just fell from heaven, as if you didn't work for it, and you're rubbing it in this person's face, making them feel like they are worthless because they couldn't help themselves at their times of need, you have no shame on you. You have no right to do that. When God has put you as a blessing, and hear me well, man. When you have blessed somebody and the person turns around and stabs you in the back or bites you, go down on your knees and give it to God. I promise you, Nay, the karma that will come, leave them. Just let it go. It is very painful. I speak from experience. I have been hurt. I have been betrayed. I have been used. There is no curse that I don't think is adequate on the planet. At that time when I used to think like that I would think there's no curse on the planet that is adequate to throw at this particular person for everything that they did. But then when you're a Christian and you walk with God, his word says, vengeance is mine. So as he says, vengeance is mine, let it be his. How he sees is to execute it, when he sees to execute it, has got nothing to do with you. A lot of us want things, karma to bite now. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Perfect example, I think I talked about it in my life story, is, my relationship with my parents. When you take advantage of somebody who's done you good, and they've done it with a very open hand and a clean heart and a pure heart, when they cry to God, their tears never fall to the ground. And that's what I want people to understand, especially you who goes around thinking you can take advantage of people, getting into relationships of convenience, particularly. Can't do that. Can't do that. As the Bible says, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. Once you're a child of God and you accept Jesus Christ into your life, you're automatically anointed. So when he says you don't touch my person, he means don't touch my person, because when that person falls on their knees and wails and cries to God, God answers. Even if it's not at our time, but he surely answers. And you will get what's coming to you. There will always be consequences to actions. And that's what you must always understand when you go out doing things that are bad to people. There is a consequence for your actions, and how it comes, don't point fingers and don't blame anybody. Black people, people hate me, it's witchcraft. Story for the gods. Right. I think I've covered this already, but I'll just use it as a wrapping point. I say, do you ever stop to wonder that God sends people in our lives to help us in times of need? But somehow we get things mangled by sleeping with these people, which complicates things. Learn to take time to observe and not to jump in the sack with someone. I can say I got burnt, and I learned that's how I'm able to come out and warn people on what to look out for. So I'm going to give my 3 examples, a rundown quickly of relationships of obligation. Number 1, when you have gone over and beyond for your partner, you will feel like you owe it to them to be in a relationship with them. Number 2, when you share children or property with an individual, the fear of losing any or everything in the event of a breakup, divorce, or separation keeps you in that relationship. So you're obliged to them because of those issues, because of those properties and children or assets. Finally, when you save someone from an impending doom, they automatically feel indebted to you. Therefore, it's a relationship of obligation. And that is a wrap. I pray that as you listen to me, you take the time to look at your relationship right to a skeletal point of view. Undress it. Look at all the uglies. Look at the pros and look at the cons. Now, I'm not saying you must sit there and say, yeah, what have I done for this person? One, yeah, ish. That day, yeah, one. Hey, yeah, but this person be taking advantage of. No, I'm not saying do that. Traumatization, Francis. Traumatization. Nollywood, Hollywood, here I come. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying evaluate your situation. Observe your partner. Both ways. Does this person truly love me? Find out how this person truly loves you. Sometimes it's not by genuinely asking, like literally asking the person. Sometimes you see from the person's actions. Sometimes you see how the person's body language is towards you. Sometimes you see the conversations. You can tell by the person's conversations that you have with them. You know, are they interested? Are they disinterested? Does it look like you're bothering them 90% of the time? Does it look like they're irritated when you open your mouth? Does it look like their presence irritates you or vice versa? It's so sad to find yourself in a relationship of convenience or in a relationship of obligation, because I've been in both. That's why I came up with this topic. I've been in both. And let me pray for you, and then I can conclude this video. Father in heaven, I just want to say thank you for this topic that you have put in my heart. I thank you, Father, that you have used me as an example, and that I may share the wisdom and the experience that you have given me and that I have learned over this period of time in my life, that I can share it with the world. I pray, Father, through the Holy Spirit, that you locate all these couples that find themselves in relationships of convenience or relationships of obligation. And I pray, Father, that you open their eyes and you help them make the wise decisions they need to make. But they cannot do it, Father, without your wisdom and without your revelation, and more importantly, without your strength. Some of them may be too weak to even make that decision to move and get a better life for themselves because of the fear of the unknown. Holy Spirit, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for the many relationships, the many individuals that you have saved and that you have delivered, because it is by your divine wisdom and it is by your divine power that people like me and many others have been liberated. Father, we receive all the blessings, but you alone will take all the glory because you are God. And as you said in your word, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. Father, so shall it be in Jesus' name. So the relationships, Father, that you did not put together, Father, help people to separate from those individuals and help them to find their ordained partners just as you have planned for their lives, because we know, Father, in Jeremiah 29:11, we know the plans that you have for us, and it's plans for a future and a hope, plans to prosper us and not to harm us. Help us to understand, Father, that things happen at your time and not our time, because your ways are way higher than our ways. Remove every spirit of pride, every spirit of arrogance, of thinking that we are the saviors and we are the providers for people in their lives, because you are the ultimate savior and you are the ultimate provider. You have given us blessings to be blessings to others. Father, therefore I pray to remove every heart of stone and turn it into a heart of flesh. And as I conclude this video, Father, I pray that the people that are listening to me now and the people that are yet to listen to me in the future will be touched by this video, and they will see your mercy and your grace upon my life as you delivered me. And now my story has become a testimony to the thousands and the hundreds of thousands of people that will listen to this video. Father, to you be the glory, to you be the honor, and to you be the praise. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray, and we pray. Amen. Family, it has been a beautiful afternoon. It has been quiet. I think at the beginning of the video, there was a bit of yay. So I wonder what the Springboks have done. If you don't know, the Springboks are the official rugby team for South Africa. So I wonder how they performed against Japan today. But it's the 20th, I think, of October. And I'm going to be uploading this video, if not Monday, then I think I'll upload it on Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Please share these videos. It's important. I just want the word to get out. I just want people to be empowered. I just want people's eyes to be opened. And I just want people to be liberated from any kind of trap that the enemy may have set up for them. And as I wrap up, this is Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time.